back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, so I'm here today to do a series review, which is something I've been promising for a while, and I finally got a chance to sit down and do it. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Winnowing Flame series. I'm not going to do spoilers, so don't worry if you haven't read it, but I'm going to talk about the whole series and just my thoughts on it and what kind of pushed this straight into my favourites list. So let's get started. The series is by Jen Williams. It's 3 books long and it starts with The Ninth Reign. Now, I started this series way back in April and then I think I finished it in August, maybe August. So there are 3 books, so I read them over a couple of months and they didn't take me that long once I sat down and kind of got into them, but it was just I was reading lots of other things at the same time. So the first one is The Ninth Reign, and I have actually read another book by Jen Williams a while ago, which is The Coppercat. I wasn't a huge fan of it, it was fine, but it didn't really captivate me and I didn't have a dying urge to go and read the rest of her stuff. But I kept seeing this series being recommended, people were talking about it. It sounded like something a lot more epic fantasy than sort of sword and sorcery, which is what that other series was. So I wanted to try this and I'm very, very glad that I did because it catapulted straight into my favourites. So we are following a world that is currently at peace, but over the last couple of centuries it's had various different battles, and these battles are kind of known as the Reign. So R-A-I-N, not like the reign of a king. And these reigns, we've had 8 of them up to this point, and clearly the title of the book indicates that the Ninth Reign is potentially coming. We are in an era where maybe something is about to kick off, but we don't know exactly what or how it's going to happen. We follow a kind of dwindling population of Eborans. They're kind of like elves, and we also have the humans in this world. Those are the 2 kind of main races, although the Eborans have really been dwindling in population. The Eborans used to be like a super prosperous race. They seemed to be sort of the people that the humans looked up to, and they would have lots of different qualities that humans were envious of, such as really, really long lives, and they didn't seem to die very easily. But unfortunately, in the last reign, or since the last reign, the Eborans' kind of life force, which is a tree, has died essentially. It's been dying or dead for a long, long time, and because of that, the kind of elixir that they used to use to heal themselves has now gone away and doesn't work, and the Eborans have, as a result, kind of dwindled in population. Many of them have died off. Many of them have actually got a sort of sickness that kills them in a quite nasty way, and so their population is really not thriving at this point in the history. The humans, on the other hand, pretty standard, that we see and know in other fantasy books. One thing to note is that these 2 different peoples, the Eborans and the humans, have not always coexisted, but they have always worked together during the Reign period to fight off the common enemy that has been an invading force in their planet. Another part of the world that we follow is the Winnowing, and this is an area where there are witches who have been captured by the owners of the Winnowing for their own good, is what they say, but I mean that's dubious. But basically they capture witches who have this fell witch power, which is this ability to control kind of to suck up life force from people and use it to expel green flame. It's a power that is quite hard to control, and as a result, a lot of people who discover they have this power end up accidentally hurting people with this power. So they get captured in this world, taken to the Winnowing, where their power can be kind of harnessed and controlled, but they are cut off from all of their family and friends. Their life is completely over. They are basically just trapped there. So this is where the fell witches are based. We have a character called Noun that we are following who is a fell witch, and she's based there. I think her characterization was good, but it took a while to kind of warm up to her because she is quite closed off just with the life that she has led. It's understandable, but I think as the story goes on, Noun becomes really, really important and really key. She is a pretty willful character and fairly determined to get her own way, and she definitely doesn't stop fighting, which I really liked about her. The other characters that we're following are Hest or Hestilian and Tor. They are two Aboran siblings who have grown up together. They're very close, but at the time that we meet them, their life is pretty bad. As I say, there's this disease that a lot of the Aborans have caught, and there's very few of them left. Hest is determined to figure out a solution to why their sort of tree god has been dying. That is all she's fixated on, and everything in her life is consumed with that. Tor, on the other hand, just kind of wants to forget his problems and abandon the Aborans, so he really wants to leave and just go and kind of make his way in the world amongst the humans, and that's what he does. One of the things that he ends up doing whilst he's fled Ibora is he meets a woman called Vintage, who is a much older character. She's an older human woman, and he kind of becomes like this mercenary for hire for her, almost like a bodyguard. He accompanies her around and chases off monsters with her and keeps her safe in this world, which is a pretty scary world at times. It's fine in the populated areas, but if you go out into the countryside, there's quite a few monsters and things like that that can get you. So you do want a kind of bodyguard with you, and that's what Tor has taken on as his role, kind of semi-reluctantly for Vintage. Vintage is an explorer. She wants to know about the world. She wants to know about the common enemy, and she wants to uncover the artifacts that they've left behind. So she is really interesting as a character. I really like her. I think she's one of the best female characters I've seen in a while, and she's an older character, as I mentioned, so it's really nice to see a character who's not stereotypical, and she's learned a lot about the world, and she's very wise and knowledgeable and really helpful character to a lot of the other characters as well. She's not exactly soft. She doesn't really have too much of a tender streak to her, which was nice to see. So I liked her kind of single-minded determination. I liked her spark for discovery and being different from her family. She doesn't want to conform to what her nobility status gives her. She wants to go and do her own thing and discover her own life, which I really like. She really reminded me of sort of a natural historian, and she has a lot of sass to her as well, which is great. We do have quite a few magical things and magical items and magical magic in this world. We have the tree god himself. I think he was called like Yurgsul or something like that. I have no idea how you say it. And he is like this life-giving tree who, as we know, he's dying, but we don't know why, and we don't know if he will come back in any form. We also have the magic of the Fell Witches and the magic of the Aborans with their long life and their magical fires. The wilds are very dangerous. There's lots of creatures out there who are kind of warped and disfigured and just kind of slightly altered in bad ways by magic. And we also have the common enemy of this world as well, who are almost like this alien invader. I really liked Jen Williams' writing in this. I felt like the pacing was great. It was very easy to get into, very likeable characters throughout, and the world generally just felt very descriptive. So I could really envision lots of these characters and creatures as I was reading the story, which I really, really enjoyed. I definitely want to read more fantasy series by her since reading this, because this was just fantastic and it only gets better. So I gave the first one in the series 4 stars. I think I gave the second one 4 stars as well. And I won't go into too much detail about the second. Suffice to say, things get really twisted, and a lot of directions that I didn't anticipate we actually go in. So some of the characters who I thought were going to be really good or going to be maybe kind of key characters, they were, but they were in very different ways to what I thought. Some of the characters really have their loyalties tested, they really have their family ties tested. Some of them do terrible things because they want to achieve a goal, and I really didn't expect all of that to happen. I really like it when a story can surprise me with the characters and the directions they take, and kind of justify that as well, because sometimes they do things and you're like, they wouldn't do that. But in this, I felt like they would, for the reasons that are given, and I liked that Jen Williams was able to kind of take me on that journey of surprise and discovery, but also it felt genuine to the characters and I could understand their motivations. The final one in the series, I won't give away what happens, but I ended up giving it 5 stars because I just loved it, and I just thought the story rose on kind of this massive crescendo, and I really, really enjoyed how it ramped up. Like in the first one, there is a big danger, but it's sort of in the background. The second one really brings that danger to the midpoint where it's really facing off against the humans and the Aborans of this world. And then the third one is just constant, like, backwards and forwards, but also we get two viewpoints in the third one. We have the viewpoint of our humans and our characters that we know, but we also have a viewpoint which is from kind of the enemy's point of view, and it does make the enemy a little bit less black and white. It kind of gives us insight into how they think. We also discover a lot more over the course of the second and third book about the origins of this world, where the gods came into it, how different things were created, like the Aboran race, and where they came from. We also discover a lot more about the origin of fell witches, particularly in book number 3, which I didn't expect to kind of go into, but I really am glad we did. So there's a lot of different things that are happening across the series, and I really feel like it just grows and builds as you go through, to a point where by the end of the series I didn't recognize how much I would love the characters and really miss reading about them, but I do. I really wish there was more in this world, because I think it's such a great world. I think she really expands upon so many cool ideas that I've seen done in fantasy before in her own way. She also creates new ideas with new races and creatures, and I really love that. I also just feel like this is a very expansive world with a lot more potential. I don't know that she'll go back to it. I hope she does one day, or that she gives us a new series with new characters, something like that, that's fantasy. But yeah, I really, really like this series, and I definitely would call it a firm favourite for me now, and I definitely will be keeping an eye out for any more fantasy reads that Jen Williams writes in the near future. I would love to know in the comments below whether you guys have read this series, what you thought of it if you have, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye everyone!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.